So my SDRs and AEs out there, I'm going to tell you right now, if you are copying and pasting results from generative AI, you will be unemployed. I can do in 20 minutes what used to take me 5 hours. I had a 30-minute conversation with ChatGPT. It was just me and ChatGPT. Like, I interviewed ChatGPT on the
That is awesome.
on the episode. And we talked about the future of B2B sales, right? If I were you as an SDR or seller, I wouldn't be scared. I'm asking you to turn your brain on. I'm asking you to like give a shit about the buyer and to care about the space and to really want to help people to solve problems. With candidly, that's what sales always has been about. So I think, where we're headed is,
I'm Chris Bussing. Welcome to my channel. It's committed to helping more people create lives of freedom and impact through success in tech sales and the pursuit of self-development. And this podcast is brought to you by Tech Sales Accelerator. Launch your six-figure tech sales career in the next 12 weeks. Our guest today is incredible. He's a repeat offender, Jake Dunlap, a former VP of sales at Glassdoor who's gone on to become the CEO of Skaled Consulting, working with forward-thinking CROs, CMOs, and CEOs to transform their business through AI-enabled revenue strategies. He's also a best-selling author of The Innovative Seller, and he's been featured in Forbes, The New York Times, USA Today, and many other publications. This guy is shaping the future of sales. What a unique opportunity to learn from him. In this conversation, we're going to dig into how AI is changing business, how it's changing sales, and we're also going to dig into what it takes to succeed as a seller and dig into sales-specific skills like writing compelling messaging that gets the attention of executives like him. And we're also going to talk about fun things like cold calling. If you guys enjoy this video, make sure to give the like button a love tap, share this video with more people, and finally, make sure to take notes on this conversation and translate those notes into action to produce your own success. Jake, so good to have you, man.
Awesome, man. That was great, dude. Great intro. You nailed it, dude.
Yeah, man.
Thanks.
And so you started in sales and rose up the ranks to be a VP at Glassdoor, and now you're a CEO advising others on their sales strategy. What are some of the qualities and characteristics that helped you succeed and separated you to rise up not just to be an individual contributor, but a leader that's ultimately shaping this space?
I think there's two things that I did in my career that, and I've talked about them before, but they really weren't like rocket science things. Like, number one is I realized early my professional path is my responsibility. It's not my company's. I think a lot of people sit there and they think that they're going to get all their professional development from the company. They're going to invest in me. And I just never had that mindset. And maybe it was like I always had a chip on my shoulder, like, I'm going to grow. I'm going to read the books. I'm going to learn the things. I'm going to try new things. And so, I would take the baseline that a company gave me, and then I'm practicing outside of office hours, right? A lot of people don't realize, like, most salespeople don't practice. They just do. And so you're always playing in the game and you're not practicing. So I think for me, very early, I read the books, listened to my own calls, which is never fun, critiqued myself, got better. And so I was getting reps much faster than my peers. And so I think that allowed me to get better at sales faster. And then, the other thing, again, like other than just doing that, is managing up. Like, I was very fortunate. I was 26. I went to my boss. I've told the story a million times, and I said, hey, man, like, my goal is I want to be a manager. I'd managed a team before, like a team lead. He's like, well, that's not a goal. I said, well, what do you mean it's not a goal? He's like, well, because I control that. He's like, a goal is something that you control. He's like, so here are my expectations of why I promote managers. And this is my boss's boss, right? And by the way, that's who you need to go for promotions. Don't ask your boss about what they're looking for, because they're not the ones that promote you, right? It's the boss's boss or like a different department head. And he said, top activity, do this. 2.5 months later, a job opening came up and I got the leadership role. And I just continue to do that. Hey, what are your expectations for me? Let me make sure I'm managing your expectations, continuing to get better on my own. And that's how I think I was able to, 28. I was the youngest out of 70 national account executives too, and then moved into leadership. And so I went into leadership, then did that, and then went back into VP land. But I think it was that recipe, man. That recipe of like, I own my own career development. I own making myself better. If a company invests in me, I love that. But I'm not going to sit around and wait for it.
You know, that lesson right there transcends even getting promoted and rising up in sales. It could apply to rising up in any domain in life and in business. So such a good nugget to start out the conversation. I thought it'd be a unique opportunity, given you were VP of sales at Glassdoor, to ask you how aspiring SDRs or AEs looking to break into tech sales or land their next tech sales opportunity that's better than their past one, how can they use Glassdoor to navigate? I know it's probably been a bit, but I just hit me, man. Like, we're gonna talk AI. That's the crux of this conversation. But do you have any thoughts? Because you're heading up sales.
I love that. I mean, Glassdoor would be an interesting one. It's interesting, just review sites in general. Like, our society is, reviews have been the hot thing for a long time. But I think you could pick up on themes. I would focus on the positive themes. No employer wants to hear about, like, well, tell me about your culture around this. Because let's be honest, a lot of people go to Glassdoor and, like, they're pissed. This about it.
And hey, quick note, I think a lot of the people with negative reviews, they have a victim mindset. And I tell people, they're like, oh, there's negative reviews, and it's like a great company overall, like even like Zoom Info, for example. Yeah. It's like, take it with a grain of salt. So good point.
Yeah, exactly. So I would look at the positives. If I was sitting there, I'd be like, okay, what are people saying? I'd make sure that aligned with what I was looking for. And then in my resume, I would try to tweak it toward, like, I'd probably look at their webpage too, the values, etc. Like, here's the things that I'm looking for. So I'd probably use the positive reviews and try to see how I could triangulate my experience with a fit within their company. Hey, I've looked at Glassdoor. I've seen multiple people that gave you a 5-star, had this in common. Here's how I've done that already. And that's why I think I'm going to be a 5-star employee. Ooh, that was good.
Dude, you're good. You're showing your thoughtfulness and that you really want it.
That's right.
So I'm glad we went there, had to hit it, because a huge part of this channel is helping people open the door to future opportunities that could change their life. So now let's get into AI. I saw on your LinkedIn profile, you made a bold claim that generative AI needs to be adopted by every company in 2025. And you said that you're seeing results. You're seeing SDRs, AEs, and AMs. I don't know the exact numbers. I should have remembered it, but they're saving, let's say you're going to have to correct me, 20% in time. They're improving their quality of conversations by 40%. Let's dig into those results you're seeing and like what's behind it.
Well, look, I think that those numbers. I mean, we've done multiple surveys now. We did our first one maybe not quite a year ago, 9 months ago, of almost 300 sales reps and leaders, and I think it was 50. It's like I might get it. 56% said it saved them between 2 hours or more, and 28% said it saves them 5 hours or more. Right? We just redid the survey maybe 3 weeks ago, and those numbers, I want to say, it's like 65% now said it saves them 2 hours, and like 34%. I can't remember the exact numbers. So the big shift is really, Chris, this is a shift in how we solve problems as humans. This isn't a new technology. So to kind of back up and talk a little, not super philosophically, but if you think about the transition from the library to Google, right? You used to have to go to a library, an encyclopedia, to get information. You had to read all this stuff, and then it was a waste of time. And then the internet came about, and then we got Google, and that now we retrained our brain to say, okay, instead of going and finding books and reading, I'm going to go search for information. I'm going to aggregate that information, and I'm going to spend some time, and I'm going to massage it. We now have the next big evolution, which is, oh, no, I'm just going to give you the answer. You tell me everything. And so we're going through a shift of, even for me, I'm 20 plus years in the workforce, and I'm like, dude, I got to change all the super highways in my brain around how to solve problems. I'm rerouting. And so, because now I can just get started faster. What generative AI allows me to do is not do my job for me. Okay, so my SDRs and AEs out there, I'm going to tell you right now, if you are copying and pasting results from generative AI, you will be unemployed. Okay, I can't say it any more blatant than that, because guess what? It already exists. I can build agents that will copy and paste their own content into emails. So, you have to realize that the human in the loop is what the most important part is. So generative AI, it gets you to V1, where it would have taken me, if I'm doing research, it would have taken me 10 to 15 minutes to do research on this company. Now I get to V1 of really good research in 30 seconds. And so there's a speed. It's the first technology too that's a mix of, it increases the volume of things I can do and the quality. And again, whenever we build custom GPTs, and we'll get into some of that later, where you program on the back end with your buyer persona, your products, your call it your battle cards. You do all that on the back end in the custom instructions. You tell it, hey, you're my discovery call prep bot, and we've got a bunch of these. It says, great, give me a link to the company. And all you do is you put a link in, and it already knows it's going to tell you industry trends. It's going to tell you the last annual report for the company. Like, the ability to speed that up, we have kind of a suite of custom GPTs. We got feedback. He's like, I can do in 20 minutes what used to take me 5 hours. And so we're just, a lot of this is just refactoring our brain that this is, the same way of before where you're like, well, go to the library. It's like, now start going to Google. Now it's like, stop going to Google, start going to ChatGPT, right? Or tools like it.
So this research, is that what helps improve the quality of conversation?
Totally.
Because I think you said 40% increase in quality of conversation.
ChatGPT said 50%, but yes.
And so
when I asked it,
is that the main factor driving the quality of conversations, that you have amazing research faster, or are there any other aspects that improve the quality of conversations?
Combination of it. It can also, man, it's such a good thought partner. It can help you to try, so we've got a custom GPT called Help Me Book a Meeting With. And what it does is it looks at trends for that industry, for the persona in that industry. So, hey, what are the trends that a VP of operation in heavy equipment manufacturing is facing right now, right? So it can also help to do like trend analysis, et cetera. And then let's triangle, we call it the triangle. Then let's triangle that with like how we solve for those trends for that persona in that, we call it sub-industry. Like, don't do like manufacturing. It's like you need to get it. So it can teach you, like, okay, I'm new to this role. I'm a new SDR. I'm trying to get a role. Like, what is heavy equipment machine manufacturing? Create a 15-question trivia game to teach me the heavy equipment in manufacturing industry and trends over the last 2 years.
Holy cow.
And it will create a 15-question trivia game to teach you that.
So is ChatGPT, is this the $20 version
Yeah.
or even the free?
You have to do the pay.
Okay, I've been doing it. And I think you might have been the one who inspired me last year when we had I think it was last year we did our podcast.
Yeah.
So I took action. I've been using it. But
Right.
okay, so you have to do the 20. You're not going to get that on the free.
And I got to tell you, look, so there, Perplexity right now, Perplexity just did a big integration with DeepSeek. So, and DeepSeek's deep research is good. And so if you're looking for like a freer version, Perplexity is also really good. Like, we've tested Perplexity quite a bit, and it's good. I think the key is, look, you got to, I don't care which one you use, candidly. And I just upgraded. ChatGPT now has a pro version, which is $200 a month. So the $200, oh my God.
Why did you upgrade to that? And now you're Mr. Boss CEO, right?
God.
But like,
I just bought 3 other people on our team. It's expensive as hell, but it is amazing.
how do you decide if it's worth it? Like, should a seller, like, obviously you could have an
200 a
entry
month?
level SDR seller AE. Like, maybe, I don't know if that they need that, but like,
Yeah.
at what point do you know it's the right move for the 200? Like, obviously, if you've just crushed it like you got to spend money to make money. But
Hell yeah, dude. That's the other thing too. Like, man, I didn't have all these tools when I was coming up in sales. I would have whipped out my wallet. I'd be paying $100 a month. Like,
Yeah.
I'm always confused. So my company doesn't pay for Navigator. They pay the $50.
Yeah.
What are you complaining about? You go buy your own license, man. Like, again, like, so $200. I get it's a big investment.
It's a big one.
But for some of these other tools, I'm like, come on, man, you're just complaining. What would I say? So there's two big advantages to Pro. One is it has this O1 reasoning model, and man, it thinks. So like, I had it, kind of manufacture, like, kind of read up my notes or whatever. It took 8 minutes and produced this statement of work that would have taken my team probably like 45 minutes from just the call transcript. So
a statement of work.
a statement of work.
Yeah.
Literally, I went in then and spent 3 minutes. Maybe there's more of that. Maybe like 6 minutes in changing it. So like, you're talking about between the quality, and again, and I also said, hey, in the statement of work, call out the industry trends that what we do is applicable to, right? So like, just your ability to do that. And that's that's the O1 reasoning. For most of you, I don't think you need that. The other thing is you also get access to Operator. Operator is their first agent. And so Operator, you could run Operator in the background, be like, hey, I want you to go to this company's website. I want you to fill out 5 forms on like their, let's say you sell like a product that's a chat bot or something, like your intercom. You could say like, hey, I want you to go to these 10 companies' websites. I want you to go interact with their chat experiences. I want you to act like you're interested, and then see how long, give them this email, and it will just go out in the internet and start working for you. Now, Operator, it won't save your information, like your credit card information or anything like that. So like when I want to book a restaurant, I used it to book a restaurant. I had to like log in to open. So it's okay. But, I don't know if you need to upgrade to the 200 version yet, right? I would say like, master the paid version, and then you're like, I'm ready for more, right? Like I'm ready to
Absolutely.
geek out more, then maybe the pro version is your route.
It's like when the audience applies your advice and rises up the ranks and gets to your level, then they'll be using the pro version.
Hey,
right?
here's the thing. If you are ready, here's the thing. It's all look. All we have is time, right? And it's all arbitrage. If I can give you back as a seller 10 hours a month to sell more, is it worth $200? That's on you to decide. I don't know for you, but I would say stick with the pro, master that. And then when you're like, oh, I see this, because I think you get a free trial, maybe like a 7-day, and you get month to month, so you can try it. But no, I would say it's more of like, you got to know the use cases that you want for it to maybe get the most out of it.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. So to the audience, call to action, at least get the $20 a month version. I have it myself, so I could say it's been a game changer. Try it out, produce results, maybe eventually upgrade to the pro. But we're going to dig into more use cases of prompting and how individual sellers can use ChatGPT to set them up to just crush it in the role. But before that, I wanted to look strategically at an organization and a revenue operation. Beyond applying AI to accelerate research to have better quality conversations, what are some of the other strategic areas where companies should be considering implementing AI to like save time and improve processes?
Well, I like to think of AI as kind of two buckets. You've got, we call it workload, which is productivity, which is how can I dramatically increase the productivity of my people? And then there's automation, which is like, what are the things that candidly people don't need to be involved? Like they're not really adding that much value. And so like, what are like the automation? So on the workload side, that's kind of what we're talking about now is the productivity. It's going to help your marketing team create content faster. Our marketing team now can create probably, instead of spending 3 hours on some cited source, can create really good content in 25 to 30 minutes.
I have to chime in for this YouTube video as we floated out there. I'm going to use ChatGPT to come up with the best title with an amazing thumbnail featuring a great picture of you and me. And I've been using it lately like I'm getting more views. I love it. So to your point, marketing is such a huge opportunity.
And I'll give you a hack.
Oh yeah, and the description and hashtags too.
Why wouldn't it? Yeah. Right. And then I'll give you like a pro tip. Anytime you're asking it for messaging or you want it to do that, I always will say then make it more provocative, make it more interesting, make it more in your face. And when I'm writing content, when I'm telling it to help me to write snippets, I'll say, make this bulletproof to where 100% of people would say yes or click on this. And it will do different. Like ChatGPT is an LLM, so we have to realize you can push it. And it's just like a human. It'll be like, okay, here's good. Here's what I think I did a good job. And you're like, no. Make it better, more provocative, more in your face. It'll be like, okay, I got you.
It's not going to say it like, no, I'm sick of you. It's going to keep going.
Never. Well, I tell you what, I have ran it out. Like actually a chat can run out of tokens, where then it eventually, I have done that once.
No way.
Where it kind of just quits. It's like, I
did not know that was possible.
Keep doing it. Keep doing it.
You pushed it to the limit.
I pushed it to the limit where it kind of is just like, I can't go further. I can't remember what it said. And this is, and I'm sure they've increased the token limit too. But anyway, so marketing, love that use case. Content, again, it's a thought partner. It gets you 80% of the way there. Then you're boom, you're making it a V3 in that same 20 minutes, right? So there's those productivity use cases, research, scenario planning. Hey, I've got a big deal coming up. The CTO's involved. I'm a little worried about this person. What are the top 3 things I should talk about and top 3 things to avoid?
And the key is you're giving it as much context
as possible. A ton of context. Okay. Yeah. So there's productivity and automation. Look, this is the behind the scenes things. So imagine a world in the future where like we'll have our agents, and so we built a bunch of these, and we'll give you a link. You guys can go try it yourself.
Let's link it.
And we'll do a promo code or something.
Sounds great.
Hook the audience up to try it out. The future will be I'll just route. Like as soon as I see a new URL hit your calendar, I'll just have that say, oh, that's onphase.com. I'll just run the GPT and then automate the data into Salesforce so you never have to prompt. The future will be reps won't even need to learn how to prompt, or the agents that prompt them will just pipe that data straight to Salesforce. And so we're already actively working on that. Then there's also like inbound. Look, if someone's coming inbound, do you need a person, following up with them 3 times? And sellers, another thing is like you got to follow up with inbound leads. Like if you want to know why more and more companies are considering using AI, it's because sellers are like, I followed up with them. And you're like, how many times did you follow up within 5 minutes or 10 minutes? Like,
Hey, I have to say, there was a guy that reached out to me from my channel for a little coaching, but he reached out a little too late. I did my best to help him, but what I didn't realize is he wasn't following up with leads, and his manager like gave him flack. So, but he comes to me, it's already a little too late. I wasn't able to instill the mindset like you got to be really proactive. He ended up getting let go over it. So, guys, make sure to appreciate the opportunity. Like, follow-up is one of the most fundamental aspects of sales. I always say follow-ups fuel the finances. So I had to call that out, man. Like, fundamentals.
Fundamentals,
Yeah.
man. So there's a lot of other automations. We're not there yet. But if I were most of you in the SDR AE world, focus on productivity. And again, I tell people, like, put on your monitor, like don't go to Google. Like, because again, just imagine we got to read. Again, even today, I'm retraining my brain to stop thinking about I've got to solve this problem on my own. It's like, no, you have literally the smartest thing that has ever existed in the history of humanity sitting right next to you that you can. Hey, help me to do this. Like, again, like we're pivoting a big part of our business, as you can see on LinkedIn, et cetera, to doing AI transformations and AI enabled technology implementations for companies, right?
Yeah.
And because it's that critical, dude. It is the future. It is so obvious. This is not another tech. This is just a shift in kind of how we're going to interact with things that you just have to learn this stuff, man.
It's a transformation like electricity or the internet.
Yeah. I mean, Dewey Decimal System.
Yeah.
I don't know if people remember. There was this thing like you had to go to a library and there was like cards that had like numbers and dots, and then you had to go to the library and you found a book. That was like Google. That was the analog Google.
Wow. Hey, so I have a question for you that's just a fun, like, provocative topic.
Let's do it. Yeah.
Will the SDR role go extinct?
Yeah,
you've got these AI SDRs, so I just want your take on how AI is going to impact the SDR role or even the AE role. Like, will it reduce the number of AEs companies need? Take it away.
Yeah. So I have a podcast called AI Powered Seller. And in an episode, I guess it would have been probably a few weeks ago, I had a 30-minute conversation with ChatGPT. It was just me and ChatGPT. Like, I interviewed ChatGPT on on the episode, and we talked about the future of B2B sales, right? So we'll link to the podcast. Please subscribe, check it out.
Yep.
And I'll just tell you what ChatGPT said, right? So one of the first questions that I had asked was, okay, at what point do you think buyers won't want to interact with like the average seller in a product under 50K? Like, when do you think buyers are going to be like, look, I've done my research. I've talked to enough people.
Great prompt, by the way. It's all about the thoughtful questions.
Like, okay, what do you think? Because again, I'm like, okay, decent sized ticket, not too big. 2030. So by 2030, the ChatGPT said out of average reps, like at least 30 to 40% of them won't be needed, right? At least. And it said by 2032, at the top 80% of reps, like people are going to prefer. So we're literally 7 years away from humans preferring to interact with, AI. Because, and I'll tell you why. Most salespeople and SDRs, I want you to listen to me. So later in the same episode, I said, okay, if I want to bulletproof my career, what are the things that I need to do? And it was like, what are the skills that a seller is going to need to have to be able to bulletproof? And I'm going to tell you, number one is industry expertise, right? That is number one. Right. And so if you hop from job to job to job to job and you worked in fintech and you worked in HR tech and then you worked in sales tech, nobody's going to want to talk to you because I want to talk to an expert. The basic stuff, product features, how do you compare to this thing I'm already using? All of that, AI can already do a version of it. And in 5 years, ChatGPT came out in November of 2022. We are not even 2.5 years into generative AI. Think about where this is going to be in 5 years. Like, just try to fathom. Well, I can't really even fathom where it's going to be. It's going to be like more advanced. And so if you're a seller out there, you need to be an expert in the space. Humans are only going to want to act with other humans who have that additive extra. And so I think where it's headed is sales. Yes, there's going to be less people in sales because they're not going to do that. And if you're not able to add incremental value to the conversation, why do I want to interact with you? So I still think there will be outbound SDRs. You'll still have platforms like LinkedIn, different ways to engage, but you got to add value. If you want to just get account coverage, what did I just tell you? We're literally building this now. I can take the outputs from the prep and the research, immediately put that into SFDC, which immediately pulls it into outreach or sales ops in real time. In real time. This already exists. So if you're doing generic messaging, you're hitting send all, you're putting yourself out of work. If you're an SDR and you work at a company that asks you to hit send all, quit immediately. You are making sure you're unemployed. If you go and you listen to your demos, Chris, and they sound the same for everybody, you're not saying, okay, look, and I know for your industry, these are the use cases. Let's guide you through this. If you're not doing that, unemployed. Like, it's just the reality. Like, again, I think McKinsey did this survey, and this is a few years ago, and it's like 30% of buyers are okay to self-service at like 40K, right? And I think I had that in the book as well too.
Wow.
So, think about our B2C behavior, right? And if you're like, well, yeah, Jake, people want to talk to people. Okay, let's think about our B2C behavior. When you went and bought a house or a car, these are huge, life-changing things.
Yeah.
How many of you didn't talk to a person until the very last second? My guess is all of you, right? You did your own home research. You did your own car research. You did all this stuff. And then you went to the very last mile and you said, this is what I want, right? And all of these things, we want less friction. Think about your B2C. Like, if you've got it, how often do you go to Amazon and if something doesn't ship the next day, right? You're like, forget it. I'll go to the next product. That's not actually what I wanted. It's like close enough. And I'll just buy that one instead because it gets here tomorrow. We live in this world of like, we want to consume information on our own time, on our own thing. And so more and more sales organizations have to adapt. I was just talking about this to one of our clients. Look, all of these sellers, we have to have plays of how we engage with people asynchronously. Hey, are you guys using video for follow-up? Are you using video for ABC, async video? Are you using, do you have email templates that go out in between calls, right? That's, oh, hey, by the way, here's a quick little thing, right? People want to self-guide, and it's just a shift in behavior. And so therefore in sales, we have to evolve. Like, to me, it's not scary. And if I were you as an SDR or seller, I wouldn't be scared. I'm asking you to turn your brain on. I'm asking you to like give a shit about the buyer and to care about the space and to really want to help people to solve problems with candidly. That's what sales always has been about. So I think, where we're headed is if you're not that, if you're working at a company for a leader who's telling you just hit send, don't think, doesn't train you on the industry. By the way, train yourself. Again, going back to full circle there. Right? You can go create your own trivia games with ChatGPT. I just gave you an example of it, right? Where you can learn an industry, you can learn about a company. Hey, here's a company I'm trying to prospect. Teach me their business in a 10-question trivia game, right? Like, there's all these things you can do.
It's so cool. I've heard that you're gamifying things.
And
I didn't know like ChatGPT could do that.
Yeah.
So what a good...
In real time.
Yeah.
So that's where we're at. I don't want to be like super doom and gloom, but I do want to kind of just plant the flag that now's the time. Like, you cannot, like, I think what the other issues, we've got a whole generation that came up in like the remote world, right? Like a lot of SDRs, AEs never worked in an office, so they also didn't get that learning that you get from being around each other so much. And
I
so
love being in an office.
Yeah, dude, I mean, I couldn't imagine if I had started there. So you got to simulate that learning.
And even then too, having a podcast in person, it's so much more fun than like a virtual StreamYard, So
I agree 100%. So that's what I got. Like, don't be nervous or scared. Just get better. Be better. Be a real resource and challenge yourself. Am I actually being a resource? Am I adding any value here? Like, or am I just regurgitating information that they could have found on a website or in watching a canned demo? And if that's what you're regurgitating, you need to check yourself.
So we are going to round out the conversation talking about sales skills like messaging, cold calling, and LinkedIn outbound. However, before we get to that, I wanted to talk about a couple like GPT prompts that you think you just really love, and they're great for sellers. You've already hit on a handful, so it's like you already gave us more than enough. But any others that are just that you love?
Yeah, I mean, I try to make it simple for people. Like, there's a million different ways that you can do things or prompt, and so I'll give you kind of like a lay of the land, and then maybe some tips on how to make your whatever you're doing now just like slightly better. So again, around prospecting, we really focus on sub-industry trends. So hey, I don't care about manufacturing. Teach me about not just industrial manufacturing, heavy equipment manufacturing. So we try to get it to go deeper and deeper because there's a nuance, right? If I work in manufacturing, if I manufacture Keurigs versus Caterpillars, and I'm a VP of logistics, my job is completely different, right? This one is high volume versus this. So if you're saying things like, we work with manufacturing companies like Keurig and Caterpillar, and I'm like, this dude doesn't get it. Right? So sub-industry. Hey, what are the trends for this micro industry specific? And then the other tip on that is When you give me back never have it write the email. We use it to have snippets. Hey, this is what I know are trends that are happening in your world, right? And I plug that into what I'm doing. The thing that then you say is, hey, give me a whole bunch of industry jargon that only people who really know the industry deeply would know.
I love that you say it like
Give me like their jargon. And so then you can be like, oh yeah, ISO blah, 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 and you're just like smart, right? Now then that has to translate to the call. You can get into
that. I love this. You're getting like specificity and you're showing up as very relevant and concrete. You're not just talking about manufacturing, but the specific type of manufacturing company that the prospect.
And then they're using your language that a VP of logistics in that type would only know, right? So it's super, super good at that. And then before your call, that's when you create your trivia game. You say, okay, I know nothing about this. Like, this guy booked a meeting, teach me, right? So
that's so good.
And then the sales use case is, I kind of tease this one, is the scenario planning. I love it for deal scenario planning. And for a lot of leaders out there, this is terrifying for leaders. I've already kind of went through the process of grieving, of understanding this. It is really good at giving advice on what you should do next. And as a sales leader, someone who's been in the game for a while, you like to think that all your knowledge is proprietary. And then you're like, all right, so I got a rep. This is what the deal is. This is the situation. This is where they're at. These are the criteria. We're going to top 2 or 3 next steps, or help me to build an account plan to penetrate this account over the next 60 days. It's pretty good.
Dude, I have to chime in. We were talking earlier. I just had a breakup. We weren't dating for a long time, but I really liked the girl. And I used ChatGPT to give me advice on how to handle it. And my buddy Jay, who's a little younger than me, but he is so innovative. He's always adopting the latest technology. He adopted ChatGPT much earlier than I did. He was the one who told me, and I'm like, are you serious? And he's like, yes. And then I was like, you know what? I'll give it a try. It gave incredible advice. And I applied it, and it was great. So it's just like it can help you make strategic
all of
decisions,
little scenario plans and long-term strategies.
That's even
right.
Dating.
That's right. I love that. Yeah, and I'll use it for difficult conversations too, man. Like if I've got like an employee or something that, either I need to manage my emotions, I need to kind of like cathartically be like, I'm worried I'm going to blow up because this person has done this 50 times. Right. Or if I have to have a super difficult, I'll be like, hey, what are the top 2 things that I should, stay away from, and top 2 things that I should make sure that I mention, right, as a part of it. So last kind of prompting thing would be at the end of all your prompts, right, there's a couple things you could do. Almost always say, hey, what are the things I didn't ask you or tell you that I should have to make the whatever even better? Hey, what are the top 1 or 2 things I should have asked you that I didn't, that would make your suggestions even better? And it's like, oh, well, here you go. Like always. And so I always, at the end of a prompt, I'm like, what didn't I ask you? What should I have asked you? And it just helps to make it even better and better and better. And you can almost use that technique to just get more refined, more refined, more refined. And then I gave my other tip on like the end of prompts, which is ChatGPT is like it's getting better, but it's still a little vanilla-y, right? So by telling it to challenge, also be like, give me like a wild card variation of this. So like, challenge ChatGPT to get out of its own comfort zone and challenge it to get crazier or wilder. Or, hey, okay, here's some
crazy.
Here's some idea.
You talk to ChatGPT like it's your buddy.
You have to. You have to. I mean, and you will see a difference in the responses, right? So those are kind of my prompts.
This is good, man.
Hacks, things.
I can't wait to apply this myself today. And audience, you got to do the same.
Do it. It's so fun.
Come on, guys. So speaking of fun, let's finish up talking about writing compelling messaging, eventually cold calling and LinkedIn. I saw a post on LinkedIn by you where you're a CEO and people reach out to you all the time, and you're like, I'm sick of these people trying to like flatter or compliment me, which candidly I do that. But you did say, it needs to be specific, which I am good at that.
Correct,
if I give you a compliment, I'm going to be very specific. It's going to show I did my homework. But the point is, you were alluding to like messaging that actually resonates with executives like you. So the audience, they're trying to get meetings with CEOs like yourself. So what are your top tips on writing compelling modern messaging that gets executives' attention and even gets meetings?
Yeah, I mean, hopefully we've talked about it, which
I think we did.
We've talked about parts of it because I take meetings with people. I get most excited to take meetings when I think someone's going to make me smarter, right? If I think I'm going to talk to a peer, someone who gets it, that is when I get excited to take a meeting. All right. And so that's your whole job when you show up in an email or a cold call is to show, hey, she gets it. Like she gets it. Like he gets it. Like, oh, they know the lingo. They know that, hey, we're not just a professional services business. We're a sales consulting, performance consulting business. Like they know that. And then they know that, hey, so CEO of that, like you know, you probably compete against a lot of single shingle people. And then there's bigger, like, it's like they know those kind of extra nuances. Yep. And that goes back to the sub-industry stuff, right? So the same advice I'm giving you all here is that's what you need to hone in on. You know, people take meetings with people that, especially at the executive level, that make them smarter and are going to make my life easier, right? And I think and I would say this is the sad part. Twice a year that happens. Twice a year do I actually take a meeting with someone who I'm like, oh, that was really insightful, versus I'm actively looking for a solution, right? Because, and the other, you know, 4,998 times, it's just generic stuff. Like, hey, Jake, I saw on LinkedIn you run a consulting business. No shit. Like, dude, like that's the worst. The worst is just like this lazy, I saw that you're this or you're the CEO and thought it would be interesting to connect. I'm glad you're interested in connect, right? But what's in it for me, right? There's a guy, this guy, Brian Tracy. If you guys don't know Brian Tracy, go check out. Brian Tracy is an oldie but a goodie sales guru. He invented this saying called everyone's favorite radio station is WIFM, WIIFM, which is what's in it for me, right? That's the station everyone tunes in.
That's so true. That's such a good way to put it.
I think so many leaders are focused on volume and account coverage and not teaching salespeople how to attune the message for the person. My job is to book a meeting with the person, not to get out as many emails as possible. I think we've kind of lost sight of that a little bit. And I also think that's why a lot of results are, you know, atrocious right now.
I love the use of the word attune because it makes me think of a guest that I had, Dan Pink. Now we did it virtual.
Okay.
But yeah, so he mentions attunement. Attuning to the prospect in their world. So what was it again? One more time, that radio station that
WIFM, WIIFM. What's in it for me?
I love it. I love it. So good.
Brian Tracy, go check it out. I think it's Art of the Close, that book that came from. I don't remember.
And you know what's funny?
You can ChatGPT it.
My mom loves Brian Tracy, and she always reminds me of the, Eat That Frog. So he has amazing books too on just general productivity as well.
Yeah.
But I remember something you said in terms of sales success is find someone to imitate and to replicate their success. So it's cool to have a mentor like you come on to this channel that I can learn from, the audience can learn from. But have mentors been key to your success? I know
I get that question a lot. I think I should have had more mentors. Look, for me, again, I was fortunate enough to learn sales somewhat around other people. I just ripped off everybody.
Yeah.
And all of you just do it. I think that was another skill that I had early in my career. I had I cared about getting it right. I didn't care if I was the one who got it right. And I think a lot of sellers are like, yeah, I know better. And I was like, if this dude's crushing it, I'm just going to copy and paste what he's doing. Like, or she's doing good. Ooh, I like that line, stolen. So my mentors in sales early on were books, CDs on CD books. That's the Audible 1.0. And ripping people's best practices off from the floor. You know, if I'm sitting in your shoes, you know who your mentor should be? Go find the person who's number one on the leaderboard, go pull their gong calls, listen to their gong calls, and rip off whatever they're doing. What are you sitting there waiting around for your company to build you a new playbook for? Stop being lazy. Like, you already see the people performing, go rip off what they're doing. Don't make excuses like, oh, they got a better territory or blah, 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 right? Not that couldn't be a factor, but those are my mentors. I think as I got into leadership business, like roles, that's where I should have got more mentors. You know, if I think about, not just the frontline leadership, especially as I started to move into more executive roles, that's where I could have used. Because, when you get hired into leadership, people expect you to know what to do. Yeah. It's not like, hey, you don't get, your amount of training that you get in sales leadership, and especially as you rise to VP level, is just, it goes off a cliff. It goes from like, oh, individual contributor, you're getting trained. And then it's like nothing. Like you should know everything. So I didn't really have a lot of sales. My sales mentors were like books and top performers.
And you know what? That's a great insight right there. So, hey, let's talk about cold calling. This is a fun one. People are always searching it. And tell us the story of Dennis.
Did we talk about that?
Yeah, again, we did. So we can do it quick because maybe I bet there's going to be a lot of people that see this that didn't see the last one.
Go check
I will link the last one too. Just real quick, and then let's run into is cold calling still going to be really important and some tips. We're almost done here, but we have to hit on this.
Yeah, I mean, cold calling is definitely. I can tell you right now, we have clients 50% of their meetings are coming from the call, right? And it's because the phone is wide open right now. I mean, and the other thing to think about when you call somebody, how many of you actually listen to your voicemail? Nobody. What do? You read it. It's a text message. So you got to think when you're doing a double, and sales office actually does some studies. When you do a double or triple tap, conversion rates go up 2x. And so, you send an email, double tap immediately, you go to voicemail. So it's 100% not dead. We have multiple clients. These are clients that sell into fintech, clients that sell into insurance, like all over. The calling is still very alive. Again, be relevant. It's multi-touch. There's also another stat. Sales Loft shows if you have, one method, I think it's like 12%. And then if you get up to 5 modalities, email, call, LinkedIn, note, it's like once you get up to like 4 or 5, conversion rates go up to like 24% or 30. So double, triple with more modalities. So the key is to not give up. Touch point 14 is the highest converting, right? Touch point 1 is never. And where do we spend all our time customizing? Touch point 1, right on the email. So, it takes 14. It takes an average of 26 days to get a meeting. It takes, I think, an average of 1,000 touch points at the enterprise level to book a meeting. So most people just give up too early in calls. For me, the analogy you're giving is I did cold calling in college.
Yeah.
I had to work full time and go to college. In my junior year, I came up with like 9 credit hours. I can't remember, something like that. My dad is like, oh, so you want to just get a job? And so I was like, well, I think I want to still go to college. And so I continued to go and took a semester off, and I worked in telemarketing. And I sold vacation packages. I was that person that got you to the timeshare. So like I would call up and I had to get you to give me your credit card for $35 to go to Tunica, Mississippi. What else did I sell? Historic Williamsburg.
Wait, and did you close them on it? Or because my dad sold timeshare where he was in person.
No.
I didn't get on
I closed you. Like I closed for your dad.
Are you serious? Okay, because basically my dad, like they would get a gift, like a laptop. He's like, hey, we all know why you're here, for the free gift, and he had all these techniques.
Yeah.
Okay. And
that's
so
what would happen. It'd be the same thing.
Yeah.
I would be like, hey, look, do you like to, you'd like to go to the casinos? You know what? Hold on. Let me just do this real quick. What if I could get you $50 to Harrah's Casino in Tunica too?
Dude, I love your tone. Like, I love your tone.
You get quiet. So, I had fun with it. So I created characters. There was the Reverend who was like, hello, this is Jake Dunlap with Grand Vista Vacations. How are you today? And then there was Dennis Crusader was like, hey guys, this is Dennis. So I created these like characters to have fun with it. And I crushed everybody. I was 20, whatever. There were people that this was their job, and I outperformed all of them. And I think it was just, I didn't care, dude. I was having fun, hooking up, like dating girl. Like it was just like, I was having fun with it. But again, I also listened. They had a training program. They're like, this is how you do this. And again, I think my natural, like, not care as much attitude certainly helped. And then they had techniques and they had programs they put you through, and I'd listen to those techniques. But then I also had fun with it, So I think that's you got to have fun with it, man. Like I don't know, I've probably made hundreds of thousands of cold calls in my life, and if you're not having fun with it, like, and I think you have to have a belief. Like I thought it was a good deal. $35, you're getting 2 nights, 3 days in Tunica, Mississippi, and I'm throwing in some gift cards.
There you go.
I actually believed that it was a good deal.
There you go.
I think it was. I hope.
So the key is you were confident in yourself. You had belief in the product too. You thought it was a good deal. You had conviction. You thought you were bringing value, and you were detached. You didn't give a flip. And so I think that is powerful. Are there any like techniques that you would add before we shift to, we'll wrap up talking about LinkedIn social selling?
Sure.
Any specific cold calling techniques that you remember that were effective?
I mean, I'll give you a lot. There's a lot in there. I'll try to narrow it down to a few. Number one is your tone and pitch is what matters most. Do you sound confident? Are you slowing down? Do I sound like a peer? Or am I, hey, what's going on, Chris? This is Jake with, so.
What a difference in tone there.
Exactly, right? So that you have to train yourself. The body naturally gets anxious when they pick up, like, I get it, guys. I've been there. Like, I felt it too. But there's a book. It's called How to Make People Like You in 60 seconds or less. It's something like that. And I developed, it's called like, you develop a trigger. And it was, for me, it was a light switch. It could be a light bulb or anything. And as soon as they answered, I'd flip the switch and I'd be like, and I'd, kind of go into it. Nicholas Botham wrote the book. I gave this book to a rep once, and he got pissed. He thought I was saying like he wasn't likable or something. I'm like, dude, I'm trying to like help you. Like you threw a temper tantrum. That's number one, is be confident. Number two is understand the use of pauses, when to use them and not to use them. Right? So when you're doing your opening for a call, hey, Chris, this is Jake with Skaled. Hey, I'm hoping you could help. I've talked to a couple different people. They say that you handle basically the revenue tech stack. Is that right? Okay, you see, I didn't
I
pause.
like that.
I didn't pause. I said, is that right? Like, there's no pause, then straight into, is that right? That you handle the revenue tech stack. Is that right? Like, there's different areas where you want to be assumptive. I don't want, we have two brains. We have a logic brain and we have a lizard brain. The lizard brain responds. Yes, I do handle that. Like, that was a lizard brain response. When you leave pauses, all of a sudden my brain starts to turn on. There are times when I want it to, and other times when I want you to just do, like, move forward. And so understanding how to use pauses to get, I want a gut reaction. Hey, Chris, are you a guy? Yes or no? Right? Like, right? Like, hey, are you, like, I want gut visceral reactions.
Did you see how I reacted to that?
Yeah.
I didn't even know where that reaction came from, but I was like,
it's so easy.
I was like caught off guard like a little kid. Like, that was crazy. So anyways.
So think about like those types of reactions.
That's a pattern interrupt.
That's a pattern interrupt.
Just like
I don't know if I don't know if that one would work, but that's my point is like, you know, and then just study again, like where people lose deals, not in the cold call. And then we'll talk a little LinkedIn. I know we got to wrap.
Yeah.
Is at the end of the demo. This is where, man, I've witnessed this thousands of times. You get to the end and you're like, there's this pause that happens instead of you taking control. And the person's like, okay, well, you know, can you send me some information and we'll talk more about it? Or even worse, the rep goes, hey, what are next steps? As opposed to like you get to the end of the demo, you're talking them through it. You're like, okay, great. So let's talk about next steps. No pause. So it sounds like, hey, Chris, I heard this is a priority. Hopefully this shows you how we can do this, et cetera. So great, let's talk about next steps. No pause. Drive momentum in the deal.
Oh,
so
cool.
you have to really be smart about pauses. There are times when pauses are important, like after you say pricing, that pause, they call it the pregnant pause, where you're like, great. And so for your company, it's going to probably be about $30,000. And you just sit in it. Just wallow in the mud and just sit in the awkwardness of just like waiting for them to respond. That's like my favorite thing.
You know what? I know that to be the case. And like that's something that you got to be able to drop the price and pause. It's so easy to want to chime in. That's and like, you know what I would do a lot? Like, because I've only sold at like Oracle, Google Cloud, now at a cloud consultancy. So these are bigger transactions. I would almost like sabotage by saying, I know it's expensive, like, or like I'm not anymore, but I'm just saying that was a challenge. It's like, it's that my own limiting beliefs getting in the way. So
I always think about that outcome, man, the outcome that you provide for people. Like and I had this belief, man, 25, 26, look, the few $1,000 commission I'm going to make versus the impact I'm going to have on your business, you are winning. And I always believe that. And you have to believe that. If you are in sales and you don't believe that your customer is winning a shit ton more than you are in the deal, you're wrong. You know, or you're in the wrong business. You know, find something you can get excited about.
Yeah. Hey, let's talk LinkedIn. You know, just high level thoughts on the importance of the platform in general in modern sales, and maybe a tip or two.
I'll give you kind of some tips. The number one thing I would do is, you know, once you save a lead, hopefully get Sales Navigator, pay for it. I don't care what it is, because you can basically set up a filter on your homepage called lead shares. And so every morning you can go in. You can see who shared, who's in the news. Every morning, there's probably going to be one or two people. Interact, right? Like the key is, I mean, I'm telling you right now, if you go look at decision makers, they get like no comments. And all the comments, coworkers, you comment on the average decision maker's post something good 2 times, 3 times, I promise they remember your name. I promise. I know all the people who've commented on my posts, multiple. Kim Nutt, like there's a million of these people where I'm like, there they go. They're going to post now, right? So be memorable, like show up and like add value in those interactions. That is the number one thing you can do. And then my only other quick thing on LinkedIn is use connect first agreed. Either send no message or send hyper personalized. Hey Jake, loved the episode with Chris. Blah 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 blah. I'll accept that, right? Or send nothing. Don't send like we have synergies, that stuff, right? When you are first degree connection with something, not enough people leverage this for the DMs. If you DM, there's a little button that says plus, and one is a microphone. You can send a personalized voice note. Hey, Chris, what's going on? This is Jake. It's a little microphone. You can send a personalized video. You click the plus button in the message, and then you click add video. I can shoot a 1-to-1 video. Dude, nobody, I've been talking about this for like 3 years. Nobody is doing this. And the people that have, they're like, oh my God, Jake, this is like a cheat code. So you can use LinkedIn to first degree connect to send voice notes that are, because I know those are 100% customized, and a personalized video that I also know is 100% customized. So those would be my 2. If you do those, interact with people, use some more of that custom video, voice note, you're going to cut through the noise.
Jake, what a conversation, man. Your passion is contagious. You're so inspiring, and talk about actionable insights.
Good.
I want to encourage the audience to check out the Innovative Seller and Scaled Consulting. Let's just wrap up by talking about who is the Innovative Seller for? I'm sure it's for any seller, but also Scaled, you know?
Yeah, sellers, I mean, definitely check it out. I mean, I wrote the book. I was supposed to write a different book, and then I talked to my publisher, like, I want to write about where the sales is going.
Cool.
And so if you're in sales, definitely pick up the book. It's going to help you to think more customer-centric for sure. It's one of the four C's. So definitely pick up the book. I think anybody in sales leadership, I think will get a lot out of it. For Scaled, you know, look, I mean, our job is hopefully to help to make your lives easier. So as you see bottlenecks in your organization around, you know, whether it's operations or different groups doing different things and needing kind of an outside group to kind of help to align, whether it's enablement, you know, operations and strategy, that's really the work that we do. And obviously now a lot of our work is around, you know, how can we get 20% more productivity out of people, make their lives easier and better with AI as well. So a lot of the work we're doing now is these AI deployments.
So the cool thing is not only leaders who watch this can run with Scaled and maybe implement it for their business, but an SDR or AE at their company who wants to take ownership for a bigger impact at their organization, they could bring up Scaled to their leaders and say, hey, check out this podcast with Jake.
Here's this,
man,
here's
let's
this
check it out. So
article, whatever.
Yeah. So just final question, any additional words of encouragement, motivation, or inspiration to our audience of aspiring sellers on their journey?
Add value. Add value. Do not check in, touch base, follow up. Like if you're not, always be adding value. Understand sales is a game of service, right? At the end of the day, we're here to help people make a decision, whether it's to work with us, hopefully, right? I still want to close deals, just be very clear, or I want to get somebody on their path. And so I think if you go into it with like, hey, I need to show up as an expert to better serve, to better help, I think that mindset will go a long way for people right now.
Jake, what a conversation. Thank you so much for joining the podcast. Can't wait for the next one. And to the audience, thank you for your time and attention. And I respect you for investing in your personal and professional development and your tech sales dreams. Play the sales game of service, make an impact, buy or sign up for ChatGPT and start getting on the court with AI to your success in tech sales and in life. Happy selling and happy living. And we'll see you in the next one.